Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to Evolving Consciousness. I'm your host Pushottam, and in today's video, we are going to talk about the monk who sold his Ferrari. Now, some of you who are viewing this video might probably know what's coming next if you have gone through the book, but for those who haven't, and for those who have already, there is worth refreshing your memory of this book. Now, this is one of those books which has been talked about by legends themselves. Now, this is a book written by the world's top leadership coach, Mr. Robin Sharma, who is a global influencer and whose clients include the top corporates, the who's who of the industry, the titans of various industry, be it Steve Wozniak, be it FedEx, General Electric, and all the mega conglomerates in the world. Now, what is so special about this book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari? Now, before getting into the crux of this video and the teachings from this phenomenal book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, I would like to talk about the habit of reading for a brief amount of time. Now, reading is one of those powerful habits which anyone from any walk of life can nurture, which will help them move to the next level. Reason being, it is often said that readers are leaders. Now, you might think, right, probably you are someone who doesn't enjoy reading, but you need to understand, you need to observe the way the world is and the legends and the people who have created a mark in their respective fields and domains. This is one distinguishing quality which they all had. They were phenomenal readers, and they always had this particular mindset of being open to different opinions from various fields. And one important quality of a profound reader is his communication skills are top notch. Look at any great communicator. Most of the times, that person would be an ardent reader. Now, if you want to give a very pragmatic example of communication of a person who is an ardent reader and who sort of epitomizes exemplary communication skills, there's an example of Mr. Shah Rukh Khan. Now, just go in YouTube and probably play any of his random interviews, and you will notice the level of exceptional caliber in his communication skills. Of course, his replies are filled with hit and a sense of humor, fully drenched with sense of wit and a sense of humor, but the way he communicates is so top notch. And one of the qualities which he always had was of reading. He has a huge library. And if you look at his field of work, right, he doesn't have to read books. I mean, it doesn't have a direct impact on his field of work, but he still enjoys and nurtures reading. Another legendary example, Mr. Bill Gates. Mr. Bill Gates is known to carry tons of books whenever he goes on a sabbatical or on a vacation, because he wants to build that relationship with his books. You might be from any walk of life. You might be someone who probably is not interested in reading. But believe me, trust me, this is one habit. If you sort of install this habit, it's bound to give you results. Now, the results are innumerable. Not only it hones your communication skills, elaborates the diction and vocabulary, but also it gives you a new lens to look at reality. Also, it increases your knowledge bandwidth. Also, there's been scientific researches which prove that people who have this habit of reading regularly, they exercise the brain. Now, some might argue that I am not someone who's interested in reading. I don't feel like reading. It is such a colossal tragedy that most human beings are growing in their physical size but shrinking in their intellectual caliber. And this idea of not feeling good while doing something, Mike Tyson, the legendary boxer, he put it so well. He said that I hated the idea of going to the gym every day. But I told myself, let me suffer now and become a champion later. Because let's understand, guys, that if we are going to navigate through our feelings, it is a sure shot, grand recipe to become the most successful failure. You are going to be a most successful failure if you are going to allow your feelings navigate your choices and decisions. Because one fine day you probably won't even feel like getting up. So does that mean you doze off? You probably don't feel like working out. But is it good for you on the long term? These are some questions we need to ask ourselves. Because if you are someone who truly loves and respects yourself, you will invest in yourself. You will invest in your own personal development. And you will not allow feelings guide your decisions and choices in life. Rather, you will navigate your choices and decisions through the lens of a holistic understanding. You will always ask yourself, what is good for me on the long term? Though it might give me a temporary discomfort, but is it worth it? Because let's remember, things which feel good in the moment are not necessarily the things which are good for us from the standpoint of our body, mind, and soul. So, this is a sort of judgment which we ourselves need to take. And reading is one of those powerful habits. If a person installs, results are bound to come. Your analytical capabilities, the way your neurons function in the brain. There have been great researchers. You can always go online and research how reading impacts your brain. Because let's remember, brain is just like all the other muscles in your body. Most of us confine physical exercise, the concept of exercise, to only the physical body. But most of us ignore the fact that even our brain needs exercise. And that's the reason for all the mental disorders which are happening, because most people can't stretch their thinking capacities. The horizons of their intellect are confined in their monotonous activities. And always remember one very important thing. People who do something of value in life, they always invest in education versus in senseless entertainment. If you are someone who invests in your own development, in your own personal education, you are a visionary. No matter in what walk of life you belong to, you might not be a legend, or probably you might be someone as simple as me, or someone who hasn't done anything exceptional in life, but you are on the pathway, you are on the voyage to greatness. Because you are doing what the 5% of the population is doing. They are investing in education versus mindless, senseless entertainment. Sure, I'm not saying entertainment is fully crap. What I'm humbly inviting you to consider is focus your attention and energy and invest your time, energy, and resources in educating yourself in various domains. Because investing in yourself is probably the best investment you can ever invest on. Now, coming back to this phenomenal book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Now, about the author Robin Sharma, right? And I specifically adore this gentleman because he has had a profound influence in my own life. I mean, whatever little I have been able to achieve in my academic and professional spheres, I give a lot of that credit to the teachings of Mr. Sharma. And also, one amazing quality of the style of his work, right? He has a format of storytelling. Most of his books are books of fiction. They are basically a story curated, having different characters, a protagonist, and he's trying to give you certain messages through the different stories and narratives. And this is a very powerful way of influencing people, because people who are good in the art of storytelling, these are the ones who are going to have a profound influence. These are the people who are going to make tectonic changes in the way the world is going to function. Einstein said it so well. He said, consider yourself a master, consider yourself a prodigy when you can explain what you are trying to convey to a 5-year-old. Now it is so amazing, and that's the reason he gave that idea was when you give a story, when you create characters, central characters, and you are trying to portray a particular concept or a story, that immediately resonates with you, that immediately registers in your thought process and your mindset. I really adore this quality of Mr. Robin Sharma. He builds these beautiful narratives, different characters, different stories, the way they process reality. I think it's amazingly breathtaking to say the least. And this is one book, right, which brought him international fame. This book was released way back in 1999, and people are still rereading that book, because this book is not something you read in one time and you just let it go. It needs to be constantly reread, because the amount of gems of wisdom available in this book is something we all can relish and we can all implement in our day-to-day life. Now, without wasting much of time, let's go into the profound lessons. I'm going to talk about 5 major lessons which I learned from this book. Now, number one lesson which Mr. Sharma talks about through this narrative, he gives this analogy of a garden as compared to the human mind. He says, cultivate your mind, just like the way you cultivate your garden, right? Now, most people don't understand the importance of cultivating the right quality thoughts. They think all this is just, mindless philosophies. But no, this is not mindless philosophies. These are based on concrete scientific evidence. As I said in one of my earlier videos, 90 to 95% of all physical ailments can be traced to a psychological reason. And he says something very beautiful and very noteworthy. He says that if you don't cultivate your garden, right? Suppose you say that I don't want to, think good thoughts. I'll not think negative thoughts, but I want also think positive thoughts. That's not going to work. You're going to have weeds sprout out if you continuously don't condition the garden of your mind. And right thinking, right perspectives are the recipe for having a high EQ. Now, modern day corporate culture, we all demand a person with high emotional quotient rather than a high intelligent quotient. There was this beautiful study which was published by Forbes, and they saw that the people who became the most successful, say 20-25 years ahead in their career, these are the people who didn't exhibit grand academic qualifications, but these were the people who had great emotional quotient. Because let's remember, when you work in a corporate culture or when you work in a particular atmosphere, EQ is of prime importance. Sure, you might have a great IQ, but that is not a ultimate deciding factor whether you'll be a grand success or not. But when you cultivate your mind, when you discipline your mind with the right quality of thoughts, this is going to give you phenomenal results. Because let's remember, if you have put the seeds of something bitter in the garden of your mind, don't expect that you will get the fruits of mango after a period of time. So it's important for each one of us to monitor the kind of thoughts we are constantly consuming, the kind of thoughts we are constantly thinking, because thoughts has such everlasting effects in every dimension of our life that we often tend to ignore it. But he says that don't ignore what you're thinking, because your thinking affects your beliefs, and your belief affects your character, and your character affects your actions, and your actions affect your destiny. So number one lesson, cultivate your mind. Number two lesson, he gives this beautiful analogy of a lighthouse in a midst of an ocean. Now let's say that you're navigating in a cruise in a very dark environment, right? Let's say you are in the middle of night and you are in the middle of the ocean and you are navigating, right? Probably you are completely not aware where you are going, but if you see a lighthouse there, now you know how to navigate your path. You know how to move around. If you are completely in a dark atmosphere, you don't know where to go, right? So this lighthouse basically represents the purpose of our life. He gives a beautiful quote wherein he says, "The purpose of life is a life of purpose." I want to repeat it, so it's very powerful. He says, "The purpose of life is a life of purpose." So many of us are just passing through life. We don't understand how powerful having a purpose serves us, because for us, probably we don't understand the importance of purpose because we probably haven't come in that dark zone. Maybe everything is going great and we don't give importance to how having a defining purpose in life serves us. But only when we are surrounded with darkness do we understand the immense importance of having a purpose, the immense importance of that lighthouse in the midst of a dark atmosphere, and you have to navigate your cruise. If you think about it, if you don't have a particular purpose and direction in life, you feel headless. All your energy and thought process is unorganized. So it's very important to clearly articulate our purpose so that we have a direction in life. And you'll feel more at ease with yourself once you have a defining purpose. And it is not only something which we need to have to become a legend. No, even for the most simple activities, unless you don't know where you're going, it doesn't make sense where you're going, what you're doing. We're going to conduct ourselves as headless people. Coming to point number 3. Now, this is one of my favorite points. He says, practice daily acts of kindness. In a world which is so consumed with self-obsession, in a world which is so consumed in self-gratification, when you do something out of a genuine intention of kindness, out of a genuine feeling of service, the amount of joy and the well of tranquility which you feel is boundless. Because let's remember, the smallest acts of kindness to anything, you can do it to a human being, to something in nature. In my own personal life, I have developed this sort of a daily routine of feeding street dogs. Now, whenever I go into that place where they are normally placed, the way, the enthusiasm through which, when they look at me, they just rush towards me. And when I feed them, the amount of solace and bliss and fulfillment I feel, because I can see that feeling of satisfaction in them. It won't be an exaggerated statement to say that dogs are more loyal than most human beings. It won't be an exaggeration. We human beings need to learn so many virtues from animals and Mother Nature in general. The amount of fulfillment and solace I feel on a daily basis. I am not going to trade any activity of my life with that particular act which I do on a daily basis. It fills my heart with so much solace because I don't have any kind of expectation from them. Let's remember one very crucial element. When you serve someone, don't have any kind of expectation from that service. Because if you do have an expectation, then service becomes a labor. Don't make service labor. Always remember, the person who gives the most roses and spreads the most roses, the fragrance of the rose is going to be in his hand for a longer time. The fragrance will not be bereft of his hand. So when you engage in daily acts of random kindness, the sense of fulfillment and a sense of happiness which you will feel and experience, no amount of sense gratification, no amount of enjoyments, the so-called enjoyments will ever give you. And another incident from my own personal life. So this happened last year. So when I was celebrating my birthday in the month of September, me and my family decided that we will probably go to the orphanage and spend some time there. And once we had done feeding the kids there, they started singing happy birthday song for me. And I can't put it in words, the kind of feeling I experienced that day. And every time I recollect that profound memory, I feel so good from within, such joy and bliss that no amount of words can express it. Because I know how much serving with a unconditional mindset brings joy. When you can bring a smile on someone's face, I think that is the biggest accomplishment. There cannot be anything more profound and accomplish. You won't get a sense of accomplishment as profound, no matter how many big goals you chase, unless you do something from an unconditional heart, from an expectation of no return. That is true service. And Robin says that make sure that you practice daily acts of kindness which are filled, which is coming from the intention of unconditional service. This was probably one of the most important lessons for me from this book. Okay, now coming to point number 4. He says that live with discipline. Now, discipline is something which whenever we hear the word discipline, right, we probably have we have a lot of resistance to the word discipline. We feel that discipline is not such a feel-good factor, emotion to nurture. But if you really want to understand what true discipline is, true discipline will give you true freedom. Because if you don't have this quality of true discipline, you won't enjoy true freedom. Let me give an analogy of a kite to better illustrate what I am saying. Now, let's say you're flying a kite and you think that you want to hold the kite. The more you hold it, the more you maneuver it, more restraint you provide, the more higher it flies. Let's say you cut the string. What happens? You give it absolute freedom. For a moment it goes and it strikes down, it crash lands. This is what happens with most of us. We think discipline is probably the most vicious quality, right? Probably not a good feel good quality. But if you are not going to have a quality of discipline in your life, you are not going to progress probably in not even any small dimension of your life. Because even for the most smallest accomplishments, you need a certain level of discipline and commitment. Even the most basic forms of having a regular exercise regime needs a certain level of discipline, because today you're going to feel like exercising, tomorrow you're not going to feel like exercising. So if you're going to let your feelings dictate your actions, as I said earlier, this is going to be a recipe for a grand failure, right? So let's cultivate this habit of discipline. And discipline, nurturing the quality of discipline, is a hallmark of a person who respects himself, who loves himself. Because what we think, self-love means pampering ourselves, dressing up well, posing for selfies. No, that's not self-love. Self-love means working on yourself, developing yourself in every dimension of your life. That is true self-love. And true self-love can only be experienced through true self-discipline. Coming to the last lesson which this book talks about, he says, respect your time. Now, most of us think that we have an infinite time on this planet. We feel that we are going to live here forever, but that is not the case. This is not philosophy, this is realism. You and me come with an expiry date. But how many of us think about it? We consider death as a very negative concept, but if you look at it, death is a concept which gives a direction to your life. If you understand the weight of this concept of death, you will stop fooling around. Because most of us fool around in life, and days slip into weeks, and weeks slip into months, and months slip into years, and before you realize, your life is finished and you haven't done of anything value. You lived your life headlessly, mindlessly, without respecting your time. And probably towards the end of your life, you are going to be a person filled with regrets. So don't do that. Respect your time. Because let's remember, more than money, time and energy are the most valuable assets we as human beings have. The things you invest your time in, the energy, the kind of activities you invest your energy in, it's of prime importance. So utilize it wisely. So these were my top 6 lessons from this phenomenal book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Now there are countless more lessons which have been talked in great detail in this book. If you haven't read that, if you are someone who loves reading books which are sort of built on the narrative of stories, this is the book, because this book makes you feel so good from within. The concepts, the way they have been expressed, this narrative, the storyline, everything is profound. Everything is something you need to experience. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you really like this video, don't forget to share 3 of your friends. Also do subscribe to my channel, and always remember that when you get some knowledge, do make sure that you're sharing it, because what you share, what you give out in this world, you're going to receive it back. I always like to consider this world and universe as an echo chamber. Whatever you give, if you give complaints, you're going to get more complaints. If you are going to spread words of wisdom, positivity, your life will be filled with positivity. And don't think that, this scarcity mindset, that if you share this knowledge, somebody else will propel more than you. That's not the way universe works. The laws of universe are very fine and just. Everything anyone is receiving in his life in any point of time, he has earned it. There are no accidents in this universe. There are no cosmic coincidences. Everything is perfectly articulated in this dance of universe, this dance of cosmic magic. Thank you so much, and meet you in the next video. Bye.